Opening day is here for the Mets. They'll start it off this afternoon at Citi Field against the Braves. Johan Santana making his return to the mound. And to preview the Mets, we bring in our outstanding new baseball columnist, Ken Davidoff. And Ken, when we look at this Mets team, we've got obviously not a lot of expectations for contention this season. If we don't necessarily look at this season from a wins and loss perspective, what would constitute a successful season for this organization?
Well, Mark, I think just continuing to move in the right direction, to move toward competence, toward contention, and away from Bernie Madoff. To be honest with you, to keep the attention on the field on young kids like Ruben Tejada, and then further down in the minor leagues, Matt Harvey and Zach Wheeler, and back up the major leagues, Lucas Duda, Ike Davis. There is some young talent here, so if enough of those guys develop and improve, then I think that would constitute a successful season.
Ken, one of the interesting guys that we're going to be looking at today is Johan Santana, obviously making his return to the mound after missing last season. How curious are you to see what he has left, and what do you expect he can still be this season, both in terms of health and performance?
Oh, I'm extremely curious, and I think everyone is, Mark. I think expectations have to be tempered. I think Santana himself would tell you that. I think I've been polling some executives around the game in recent days about Santana. I mean, the guess on how many starts he'll make seems to be around 20, 20 starts. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, there are obviously major question marks about his health.
We're talking with Ken Davidoff, our new baseball columnist for the Post, as we get set to preview Mets opening day this afternoon at Citi Field. Ken, one of the themes last year with this team was how they had three big name players involved in in-season trade possibilities with Carlos Beltran, Jose Reyes, Francisco Rodriguez. Do you see any current Met player that could have a similar situation surrounding him this season, and in particular, David Wright?
Well, how about Johan Santana? If he does stay healthy and pitch well, he could be quite the attractive commodity. He's got just one more guaranteed year in his deal. Of course, he fully controls his destiny. He has a no-trade clause, so that could hamper things. And I wonder if the Mets would actually pull the trigger on that or try to ride him out, and positive momentum there. And Wright is the other obvious guy, and he's an interesting situation because if he gets traded, then that triggers a clause in his contract in which he becomes a free agent after this season, whereas the Mets have a reasonable team option on him for 2012, and then they could market him next winter if they wanted to for a full year. So there's a lot of balls in play there. But I certainly don't think it's like last year where you pretty much knew going into the year that at the very least K-Rod and Beltran will be traded. I thought most of us thought Reyes would be traded too.
Ken, one of the things you wrote about this week in your first week here at the Post was, can this become a Mets town again? Tell us some of the things that you concluded.
Oh, yeah, I concluded probably not. I concluded no matter how well the Mets do, and I think there is a chance that the Mets in a few years could be an interesting contending team. The Yankees have built up so much capital, both literally and figuratively, that it seems very unlikely that they'll fall off the perch they've climbed, both in terms of their on-the-field product and their off-the-field marketing with the Yes Network and just the money that the stadium brings in. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for the Mets to overtake the town like they did from, let's say, 1984 to 1992.
And Ken, last thing for you, we've had about, whatever it's been, 7-8 weeks worth of spring training. We're finally getting ready to open the season. You've been down in Port St. Lucie for part of this spring training. Tell us something or someone that you saw with this Mets team, good or bad, and whether you think that manifests itself during the season.
Yeah, I mean, to me, one of the most interesting names has been Frank Francisco. This is a guy who came in with some decent numbers. It looked like the Mets signed him to a reasonable contract, but he's been discouraging so far. Did not pitch well in spring training, had a knee injury. And you talk to people, I know my new colleague Joel Sherman has reported this, concerns about his ability to control the running game. Mm-hmm. He gets the yips when there's a runner on first base. So I'm very curious to see how he performs out of the gate.
All right, that was Ken Davidoff, our new baseball columnist for the Post. You can read Ken now in the new nypost.com. You can also follow him on Twitter easily enough at Ken Davidoff. You can follow me on Twitter at Hale Mark, and you can check out all the Post baseball coverage all season long, and especially from Mets opening day starting tomorrow. For Ken, I'm Mark. Thanks for watching. We'll